Welcome, my friends, to the Rise and Roar podcast, where I unpack the emotional constipation we call life. I have a very hard time with saying emotional constipation for some reason today. Maybe I've got a little bit of it brewing in mine. But, anyways, today I want to talk a little bit about letting go, and what it takes to actually start letting go and what it means to actually let go. We do hear the phrase just let it go quite often, but for a lot of us, we don't understand what that actually means and how to do it. It's easy for somebody to say, just go over there and meditate and think, oh, I'm not going to deal with this anymore. Yes, that is a part of the process, but there is so much more that you need to unpack and figure out and organize before you can even set it down and be willing to walk away from it. So I want you to kind of think of it like letting go of a balloon. Okay, so first off, I want to say letting go is like letting go of a concern of what others think and say or do to you. Okay, it's letting go is a past trauma or an experience that you've been hanging on to for a very long time emotionally. And it's like understanding that you don't need to worry about that anymore. It's not in your life. And you don't need it's easy to say, but it's so much better when you feel it. You don't need to worry about what other people think and how they feel. If somebody comes at you negatively, or if you've experienced some kind of a trauma, depending on the trauma in your past life, that is not your energy. They put you in a place that gave them their energy, and you've been hanging on to that because it's an experience that hurt you. Okay, so that experience that hurt you keeps getting triggered over and over in your life. And now, okay, so if you're listening to this podcast today and you've made it this far already, I know we just started, there is something in your life that has been triggered. There is something in your life that has you going, okay, I want more. Where do I need to start to get what it is that I want? What is it that I need to let go of to get to the other side? Like to get to the desired outcome that I want. Okay, and when you can understand the block and understand what it is, what emotion or feeling that you are letting go of, it's a little bit easier to do. It's a little bit easier to let go of that balloon. It's a little bit easier to leave those boxes at the thrift store because you know what? They no longer serve purpose with you. So a big part also of letting go is you have to forgive, okay? And I always have a hard time talking about forgiveness because I always feel that people are going to be like a religious thought on it, but this is nothing to do with religious. It's got to do with spiritually and mentally for yourself. So you need to forgive a person for not being in the right state of mind or whatever it is that's going on in their life, because everybody goes through experiences as we do and they deal with it differently. It's not an excuse, it's the truth. But we need to understand that that person, whatever happened, whatever the situation was, there needs to be some kind of forgiveness. Okay. And the big thing that the most important person that you need to forgive through whatever it is, the situation, the experience, needs to be yourself. Okay. You need to really understand that you have to forgive yourself. You can't blame yourself for putting yourself in a place. You can't blame yourself for, things that have happened, possibly to a loved one. You can't blame yourself for somebody cheating on you. There are so many things that happen to you in your life and you hang on to them because the energy has impacted you so deeply. It has hurt your feelings because the reason it hurt you so bad was because that you didn't deserve that, or you're not that person, and you want better. And that hurt you that somebody would feel that way or say that way or act that way towards you. And, instead of understanding that at that point in time, you let it make you small. You let it make you quiet. You let that energy, that feeling, that experience travel along with you for however many years that you've been hanging on to it. And subconsciously or consciously, you may not realize it, but subconsciously it's showing up there. And a lot of the times it shows up again, like I said, in triggers. But the most important person that you need to forgive at this time, if you're ready to let go of some kind of emotional situation, or if there's something going on in your life and you just know that something needs to change, you need to forgive yourself for hanging on to what is not yours. You will understand as you go through what it is that you're hanging on to, where the emotion came from, where the feelings came from, what the situation was. You are going to understand all of that, but you have to be willing to dig in there. You have to be willing to pull that skeleton out of the closet and face it and say, you know what? Thank you for showing up in my life. Thank you for giving me these challenges, because all of the challenges that I've experienced at this point in my life have brought me to where I am now. And now I'm ready to grow. And in order for me to grow, I need to let you go. Get it? It's all about understanding where and why, and forgiving. It doesn't make things right, but forgiving that person, that situation, that experience, forgiving it for letting it hang on for so long, you know? Okay, that I'm not gonna fib, that got kind of deep for me. It did. I don't know if that hit and makes sense to anybody else, but that really did hit home for me. I needed to forgive myself and it took me a long time. And let me say one thing before I get into this story. Letting go is not easy, okay? It is not a process that's going to happen. You're going to start it today and be great tomorrow. You are going to start it today. You are going to be great tomorrow, but you are going to have to continue releasing this energy. You think about it, okay? You've been building this ship for a long time. Imagine how thick every little word, every little sentence, every feeling, every whatever made you feel mad, angry, however your life has been triggered for however many years, it's building. And it's not just that one thing. There's many things that have happened in life that build up that sludge, right? So it's a process. It's not an overnight fix. You really need to want to make yourself change. You really need to want to let this go. A lot of the times when we hang on to these traumas, experiences, whatever it is, it's because they keep us safe. It's because it's our normal. It tells us not to move. It tells us not to take that job. It tells us not to go and experience life somewhere else because it's normal for us. It's keeping us safe. But you know what? It's not keeping us safe. That emotion, that feeling, that thing that we need to let go, that's not keeping us safe. It's kept us safe for this long, but now there's something more. If you're still here, there is something more. There is a calling. There is a reason. There is a block that you're ready to bounce through, and I don't know how to explain it any more than what I can, but I do want to say the whole thing not the whole thing, but a main part of the reason for this podcast today is because I have a 3-step process on how I'm going to explain to you how to kind of make it a little bit easier to understand of what letting go is. Okay, because like I said, it's not easy. It's a process. It's not an overnight fix. Like I said, it's an overnight fix, but it's an overnight fix every night. Okay, but let me tell you, when you begin to let it go, and the more you become aware when the triggers and the feelings and the emotions do pop up, you recognize it, you appreciate them, and you say thank you for being here, but now is not the time. Now is not the time. Or I let you go. I'll tell you, when you can actually feel the energy leave your body from just saying I let you go, and know that everything's just working the way it's supposed to, it's crazy feeling. But I'm sure you've probably felt that before. Okay, so I'm going to jump into these steps here. I'm going to explain a little bit about how you can start the process of letting whatever this emotional trauma experience, things that are going on in your mind, how to deal with these triggers. You know, this really does help if you're feeling some kind of depression and you're having a hard time getting out, or even anxiety, anything for that matter. But I found that this really helps bring you out of where you're being stuck. So what the first thing you need to do is you need to recognize what you're carrying. Okay, you need to ask yourself some questions. You need to okay, so let's look at it like this. So imagine you're walking into a room of your house, okay, and you haven't been in there in a really long time, and when you walked in and you opened that door, it was just cluttered full of everything you didn't want to deal with, everything that was broken, everything that was just junk. It was just stacked in there, and you've been stacking stuff in there for years. Like you could barely open the door because there is that much stuff in there. Okay, you have things that are collecting dust like crazy, and you know, when you think about it, that's kind of what our emotional body looks like. Okay, when we take all of those emotions, those fears, and whatever it is, that those traumas, and we just pack them away and keep pushing them down and saying, you know what, I'm not going to deal with this. I'm not going to deal with this. It happened, but I'm not going to deal with this. You aren't letting that go. You're pushing it down. You might think you're letting it go because you think out of sight, out of mind. It's not out of sight, and it sure as hell is not out of mind. Okay, it is subconsciously eating you alive. And you, in even when you're in your conscious state, you know this. You know this. You just keep on saying, no, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to recognize it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to deal with it anymore. It hurt me. I want to leave it there. But you can't. You can't leave it there. You have to deal with it. You have to take a look at all of the shit that's sitting in front of you and be like, okay, that's it. I'm ready. Like, it's time to clean it out and see why you've even been hanging on to it in the first place. So I'm going to say the first thing that you need to do is once you open that door is really start asking yourself some questions. And it's probably a good place for you to start journaling and really just kind of take, when you're starting this process, okay, it's not, you need to give yourself some time. You need to allow yourself the time to sit down and actually hear what's coming to you. Your intuition, your silent voice, it's speaking to you. It's telling you the truth. It's giving you the answers the very first time when you ask them these questions. It's that you need to really listen to, because that is your truth. That is the truth. Okay? So you need to ask yourself, I've got 3 questions here. I don't know if maybe you want to write them down or something, but the first question to ask yourself is, what are you still holding on to? What fear is holding you back? Why is it that you can't take that job? Is it because you were turned down from a job and you felt like you weren't good enough? Do you feel like you're not educated enough to take that job, or you don't have enough experience? Do you feel that somebody's too good for you? So why would you even bother trying, because you know you're not their type? What is it that you're holding on to? Why is that thought coming up to you? Where is it? Where's it coming from? Where did it stem? Where did it start? Okay, so the second question, even though there was a lot of questions in there for number 1, but the second question to ask yourself is, what are you avoiding feeling right now? What is it that has you, what is it that you're hiding? What is it that you keep on pushing down? What is it that you keep on throwing in that closet? Okay, what is it that you're avoiding the feeling? Are you avoiding the feeling of hurt? Are you afraid to, pardon me, are you afraid to move on because you're afraid that, you know, you may hurt somebody, or it hurts to leave somebody and try to do things over again? Like, what is it that you're trying to avoid? What is the feeling? Is it guilt? Is it shame? Is it blame? You know, like, what is it? There is a feeling that you're trying to avoid having. You know, you don't want to do it because you don't want to feel embarrassed if it doesn't work out the way you thought it was and you fell down off the step. Okay, what is that feeling? And what the last question here is, what memory still makes my stomach flip or my throat tighten? That is such a good one. That is such an unpacker right there. That is like, really gonna dig in and make you think like, oh God, you know, because that oh God feeling, that flip, that feeling is the energy that is crying to be let go of. That feeling is what needs to go. You need to unpack that shit. You need to find out why and let it go. It's all about becoming aware and what you can let go of and what you don't even know you're hanging on to. There are things that you're going to probably bring up during these sessions that you're like, oh, I didn't even realize, I forgot all about that, but all of a sudden it just pops up. That's because that's your energetic body, that's your soul, that's your telling you that this needs to go. It came up for a reason and it's time to deal with it. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna take a little sip here. Okay, so you have the power to release this, okay? It's gonna take courage. It's gonna take time. It is going to hurt. You are gonna cry. You are going to be like, you know, get that little sting feeling of, oh, why did I do that? But you know what? All of those feelings, that's courage. That's recognizing what needs to be released. And when you release it, it gives you such an emotional power. It's like uncanny, definitely. Okay, so let's go on to step 2. So it's kind of, step 2 is like, now that you've opened up some of these emotional boxes, it's time to really go through them. You did ask your questions, right? You asked your first 3 questions, but those were just what was on the surface of seeing where the boxes were that you needed to bring forth and start to unpack, right? So say you had anger sitting in the corner and you're feeling lonely. The loneliness is sitting over there, and that's the one that catches your eye first. That's the box you're going to bring forward and start unpacking, okay? So this is step number 2. You can't rush through this, my friend. This is honestly a process. You have to be present. You have to be honest. You have to be ready. You have to experience those feelings and emotions over again, because you know that is what you need to let go of. That is, you need to feel that to let go. So while you're unpacking these boxes, so to say, you might find some anger from a past betrayal. You may find guilt from something you had said, or shame. And as each of it comes up, you can't go, oh no, I don't want to deal with that right now. You need to feel it. If an emotion comes to you and you want to cry, all of a sudden you cry. If you feel that you want to yell, you yell. If that emotion comes up and it makes you want to laugh, you laugh. You do whatever it is that you feel at that time when that emotion is being unpacked out of that box. Okay? You got to let the tears come. You got to let the memories serve. You have to label the emotions for what they are. If it's sadness, you need to label that. You need to say, okay, this experience that I'm unpacking at this is sadness. This makes me feel sad. This makes me feel happy. And you have to see where they fit in, okay? Letting go doesn't mean that you're skipping, okay? It's what you've been hiding, what you've been avoiding. You know, you've wanted to heal it, but you've been too afraid. So as you're unpacking all of these emotions and you're starting to label them and you're starting to really, what's the word that I'm looking for? I can't even think of the word that I'm looking for. But once you start unpacking these and start labeling them and understanding, you know, how this experience makes you feel, it really starts to open you up to unpack the power that it actually holds over you. Like, it's opening you up to see that, oh my goodness, I didn't realize that by my mom saying to me that I was, I don't know, an overweight child when I was younger, how it really affected me when I got older, you know. And when you look back at your pictures, for myself, I did experience that. My mom used to say that to me quite often because, you know, she was thin. But anyways, it would come up to me and it'd be like, and I'd go back and I'd think, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, like that kind of hurt, but like and you get looking back at the pictures and it's like, I wasn't fat. Like, anyways, it's just like, it really puts you back into a place where you can experience and then start unleashing. And when you unleash and you become aware of how it impacted you and how you've actually been hanging on to that emotion, and you're like, wow, why am I doing this? The power that comes over you, like you are gonna hear me saying this a million times because it feels so good to let it go. It really, like, and here we go with the letting it go, but now you kind of understand it a little bit more, but it really feels amazing energetically, like energetically. So step 3, let's go on here. So you decide what to keep. You get to decide. Are you going to keep that feeling? Are you going to keep that experience? Are you going to keep that sunny day on the beach that you had with your children where you spent, all day there just picking rocks and going through the sand and running in and out of the water and enjoying all of that? Are you going to keep that memory, or are you going to keep the memory of, when your ex-husband told you, or even your husband told you that you weren't good enough, made you feel like shit and cry, right? Do you want to hold that? Do you want to keep that box around? Do you want to bump into that box every time you open the door? Probably not. Probably not. So you get to decide. Step 3 is deciding what you want. Excuse me. Now that you see what's in there, you get to choose. You're not forced to carry anything with you anymore. You can put it in another box, or you can set it aside outside of and say, that's going. You can keep the lessons, because you know what? Every experience, everything that we've gone through is for a reason. And I cannot express this enough. It really, truly is. There's always a lesson. There's always something we are learning, and it's learning about ourselves and what we're going to accept and what we're not going to accept, and how we're going to grow, and becoming aware of who we are and what we want. And it's being okay with that. All of this experience, all of these things, they are there for a reason, and it's to teach us a lesson. And if we don't learn that lesson, they keep repeating, and they keep repeating. Like the same thing over and over when you're a kid, or when you're in your 20s or whatever. Why do I keep meeting all these bad people, or whatever the case may be? A lot of, I admit I've said it, and now I know not to say things like that, because the universe is just going to keep on giving me a million reasons why they keep showing up. But anyways, there's lessons, okay? There is a lesson behind every emotion. There is a lesson behind every feeling. And that's what the unpacking is. That's learning the lesson. That's seeing it for what it is and going, okay, when this happens in my life again, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to do it a different way. So the unpacking part of it is really opening you up to see the lessons, to know what it is that you want to take, and then to see some of the red flags that you may have missed in past situations. Because seeing those red flags is going to it's going to open you up to seeing the growth. And my battery's dying, so I better hurry up. But yeah, you have the choice. Okay, you have the choice. You can either choose peace, or you can choose pain. You can't pretend it didn't happen, because whatever it is, it happened. But you've carried it around long enough. Okay, and I know at this point, if you've made it to the end of this video, 23 minutes and 43 seconds in, you are ready, and you've said, I'm done and I'm ready to heal. So I just want to leave you with this little bit of thought. Letting go is not a betrayal of your past, okay? It's an active devotion to your future. It's allowing yourself to grow. It's allowing yourself to see the lessons. It's allowing yourself to forgive. It's allowing yourself to let go. All right, my friends, I want to thank you so much for spending this time with me, and I look forward to next time. Take care, my friends. Bye-bye.